Hey guys, so now I'm in the fifth part of the Ottoman Empire series Mehmed. So, yeah, if you want to watch the original video by Kings in General, the link is down in the description down below. And if you enjoy my channel and my content and you want to help me out in any way, shape, or form, feel free to please like, comment, and subscribe. It'd really help me out a lot. And now with that said, and now without any further ado, let's just get to it, shall we? Let's watch the fifth part of the Ottoman Empire Mehmed II series.
As Mehmed II spent the entire year of 1465 resting his armies and recovering from physical ailments in Constantinople, he began planning for the next campaign season. Not one to remain idle in his imperial palace, the Sultan decided to march on Albania in person at the head of an army to crush Skanderbeg's revolt once and for all.
That's what I've been saying. So far, Mehmed has not dealt with Skanderbeg personally. So I'm wondering if it was ever going to get to the point, if he was actually going to ever do it. Good to know he at least has plans to now.
The target was the rebel capital of Kruji, the mountain fortress that Murad II had unsuccessfully besieged 15 years earlier. After many years of hearing news about defeats in the region, Mehmed believed only he alone could extinguish the flame of the Albanian revolt, which had been burning for over 20 years now.
Yeah, great run.
While the Ottoman army was being mustered for war, Venice took advantage of the Sultan's inaction over the past year to seize the islands of Lemnos, Imbros, Thassos, and Samothraki. Lesbos and its capital, Mytilene, were also put under siege, but were repelled by the island's local Turkish garrison. Peace negotiations had also fallen apart, as military engagements in the Morea and the Aegean Sea escalated tensions between the two sides. However, such Ottoman counteractions against the Italian Merchant Republic were put on hold, as Mehmed focused all of his strength and attention on Albania for the upcoming year. Leaving his capital at the head of a 30,000-strong host, the Sultan arrived in Albania during the summer of 1466. Once more, Ottoman raiders burned and pillaged the countryside, enslaving many during their campaign.
Dang, he took like 5 cities off the bat. Oh my goodness.
Terror. Furthermore, to prevent future Albanian ambushes against Turkish forces, the forests along the main roads in the region were cleared. Once the path to Kruja was opened, Mehmed marched his grand army to its gates and laid siege to the fortress. Meanwhile, Skanderbeg had requested military aid from Venice and fiscal support against the Turkish invasion, but the forces of the Doge were too preoccupied in the Morea and the Aegean Sea to provide any substantial assistance. Fortunately for the Albanian lord, Kruja's garrison, commanded by Tenush Thopia, had endured over 2 months of intense Ottoman bombardment and repeated assaults on its walls. Convinced that the fortress could not be taken by force, Mehmed left a token army under Balaban Beda to continue the siege and force a surrender, while he began withdrawing his main army back to Constantinople. Despite his inability to seize Kruja, the Sultan ordered the construction of a formidable fortress known as Elbasan, located in the heart of Albania, as a means to conduct future campaigns in the region. Built in an incredibly short time, reportedly just 25 days,
Elbasan Castle was built atop the ruins of the Roman city of Scampus, where the Ottomans preserved sections of the original Roman fortifications. Okay, so off the bat, Mehmed captured a lot of territory, sent Skanderbeg running to where Skanderbeg didn't seem to put up any resistance. And yeah, basically seems to have done well. He didn't take the capital yet, but still, also minimizing the potential of ambushes by getting rid of forests and stuff. Very good move overall. Yeah, now that he's gone though, I'm wondering if Skanderbeg can kind of help rebound himself, but for the most part, Mehmed kind of seems like he just showed up and instantly turned the tide there.
Demonstrated Mehmed's long-term commitment to subduing the thorn that was the Albanian revolt. While the Ottoman Sultan was marching back home, he received great news of a victory against Venice in the Morea. A 2,000-strong Venetian army besieging Patras had been swept aside and defeated by the forces of Omar Bey in 2 one-sided battles near the coastal town. Over 1,000 invaders were killed, wounded, or captured during the chaotic engagements. With Venice beaten back, the Sultan planned to march on Albania the following year. As the winter of 1466 settled in, Skanderbeg visited Italy to gather any assistance for the still besieged Kruja. Despite his desperate pleas, the Albanian leader left Rome with only 5,000 ducats and proceeded to Naples, where he received some weapons, supplies, and an additional 1,000 ducats. Upon his return to his devastated homeland, Skanderbeg began talks with the opportunistic Lecce de Gagini to rejoin the Liege of Leisure. After much negotiation, the two sides reached an agreement, and a new host of around 10,000 strong was assembled to relieve Kruja in.
Dude, Skanderbeg, I've been so impressed with him, may I just say. Like, the way that he has held resistance for decades now, and given the Ottomans thousands, like tens of thousands of casualties, it's really amazing. And even when things aren't going his way, when people are defecting, or, you know, like, the Ottomans are getting footholds closer and closer into his territory, I admire his unyielding, unbreakable spirit, and how he does not go down easily. Like, again, like, you know, we definitely seen many impressive resistance against the rise of the Ottomans, from Mercha to Vlad the Impaler to John Hunyadi, but like Skanderbeg so far has definitely been like the one that's starting to like kind of really impress me even the most, because of just how long he's been fighting and just how many victories. Like, at this point against the Ottomans, I think he has like more than John Hunyadi, even like in terms of just battles and ambushes. He's definitely had the longest, I feel, you know, like exploits and campaigns against this, and I'm really impressed by him. Like, he's definitely the most unexpected character in these Ottoman videos that's kind of risen, that's caught in my notice.
In the spring of 1467. Employing his established tactic of launching multiple coordinated assaults to confuse the Ottoman host, Skanderbeg was able to surround the besiegers under the command of Balaban. After 4 days of hit-and-run attacks on the Turkish camp, the Ottoman Pasha was killed, thus resulting in the fragmentation of his army. Many Turks who had survived—
once again, dude, he's just incredibly skilled in ambush and like jump, and like, you know, he has quite the high body count of Ottomans, like usually taking like tens of thousands people per ambush or battle. So again, like, I'm like counting up, he must be like nearing like a lot. I gotta like add up all the losses that he mentioned in the past few videos, but he's definitely been quite the thorn for the Ottomans. But unfortunately, it seems like things are winding down, because there's only so long he can keep going. The Ottomans, despite all the losses, still have infinite manpower, and Mehmed will be back himself. And last time Mehmed showed up personally, it didn't seem like Skanderbeg could, you know, was kind of on the ropes there. He lost a lot of territory, so again, I don't think he can last too long, to be honest.
The onslaught fled to the surrounding mountains of the Albanian capital, where they were later tracked down and killed in retaliation for the plundering of the region a year prior. Receiving the disastrous news from Albania, Sultan Mehmed II gathered another army to lead personally in an attempt to seize Kruja once more. By the summer of 1467, the Ottoman army had entered the region and again set it ablaze. Many peasants and noblemen were killed and enslaved, as the Sultan's wrath seemed unrelenting against the rebels.
Ottoman sources report a battle during the campaign in which Mehmed II defeated Skanderbeg. Whether the battle occurred or not, Skanderbeg was forced to retreat to the Venetian-held fortress.
In addition to Kruja, the Venetian port town of Durrës was also put under siege by Grand Vizier Mahmud Pasha. Regardless, both sieges were to be unsuccessful, as Turkish artillery was not present in either siege. With a plague outbreak hitting the Balkans by August, the Ottoman host withdrew to friendly territory, again failing to achieve their objectives for the campaign.
Dude, like I'm telling you, Albania is hard to take for the Ottomans. They are struggling so much to take it. Holy crap, dude.
In the months following his victory at Kruja, Skanderbeg began making plans to seize the new Ottoman fortress of Elbasan and expel the Turkish presence from Albania. However, before such plans could be finalized and a council of nobles convened, the Albanian ruler died in January 1468 at the age of 62 from malaria. Skanderbeg...
Oh, dang. Honestly, not how I expected him to go down. I'm gonna be honest. I thought he would go down in battle or something. But illness got him. Dang, dude. He was old too, like in his 60s. The dude spent so much of his life fighting the Ottomans. Dang. But he never, like, he definitely never lost his stride, though, despite how old he was. And I have to give it to Skanderbeg. Like, dude might be, like, the secret MVP of both series because of just how long he lasted and resisted the Ottomans. Like, he was an impressive enemy, a very underrated one who I never had heard of before I started watching these Ottoman videos. So, I'm kind of gonna miss him. Yeah, unless Albania has someone else equally as competent, then I don't know. I feel like Skanderbeg was definitely the guy holding it all together for Albania, you know?
Was one of the most formidable foes faced by the House of Osman throughout its history. Militarily, the Albanian lord accomplished what few in the Balkans could, sustaining significant resistance against the Ottoman Empire for over 2 decades. From 1443 to 1468, he successfully repelled numerous Ottoman campaigns by employing a combination of guerrilla tactics, strategic fortifications, and a masterful understanding of the rugged Albanian terrain. His leadership in defending key strongholds, particularly
As I live defending Christian dignity and faith, let that flame burn in you after my death. If you remain united in peace and loyalty, your kingdoms will stand eternal. Wow.
The repeated defense of Kruja earned him a legendary reputation in both the Balkans and Western Europe. Culturally, Skanderbeg came to symbolize the unity and resilience of the Albanian people. In the centuries following his death, particularly during the Albanian national awakening of the 19th century, his figure was revived as a national icon. Although the Albanian revolt would continue after Skanderbeg's death, it effectively became leaderless, as a power struggle erupted in the region. In contrast, Turkish armies became preoccupied with wars elsewhere around the empire.
Since the existence of the world, this saying is famous. The Karamids have been enemies with the Ottomans, and they are in a constant fight with them.
With Skanderbeg dead, Venice defeated at the gates of Patras, and Hungary now engulfed in a bloody war against Bohemia, Sultan Mehmed II set his sights on Anatolia. After a lengthy 40-year reign, Ibrahim II Bey of the Karamanids was bedridden. The late ruler of Konya had 6 sons from his political marriage to Mehmed's late aunt, Elaldi Sultan, with the eldest to youngest being Piri Ahmed, Kasim, Kaya, Nurasufi, Alaeddin, and Suleiman. However, this marriage alliance between the 2 Turkic houses failed to maintain peace between their realms, as frequent border skirmishes occurred, most famously during the Varna Crusade and before the siege of Constantinople. Loathing his sons with Elaldi because of their Ottoman heritage, Ibrahim instead favoured Ishak, his son born to a concubine in his harem, as his natural successor. This favouritism from their father evidently heightened tensions between Ishak and his more legitimate half-brothers. With Ibrahim II Bey's death in 1464, a power struggle erupted among his sons, prompting Ishak to first flee to the Ramazanids of Cilicia before making his way to the court of Uzun Hasan of the Akkuyunlu. Meanwhile, Suleiman and Nurasufi successfully appealed to Mehmed II for fiefs in Ottoman Anatolia, while Qasim fled to the Mamluks of Egypt, the traditional ally of the Karamanids. Official hostilities erupted between Ibrahim's sons when Ishak, leading an Akkuyunlu army, invaded the Karamanid Beylik and captured Konya. However, this swift triumph did not last long, as Piri Ahmed had escaped to the safety of Constantinople. Appealing to Mehmed to appoint him as a pro-Ottoman bey of the Karamanids against his openly hostile half-brother, Piri Ahmed led an army into the Beylik in the spring of 1465. Defeating Ishak in open battle near the town of Dapizara, the half-Ottoman, half-Karamanid bey entered Konya as an official vassal of the Sublime Porte.
Wow. You know, the Karamanids were quite a constant foe back in, like, Season 1, I remember, of the Ottomans, the rise of the Ottomans. And it's kind of just, like, interesting how long they've been around. Even now, like, yeah, you guys are still around, huh? I almost forgot. Yeah, now the Karamanids have just become basically almost like this disputed territory that these several groups, from the Mamluks to this group and now the Ottomans, are kind of using their chosen men to basically see who will have influence or domination over this.
Despite bending the knee to his cousin, Piri Ahmed conducted secret alliance negotiations with Venice, similar to his late father during the Varna Crusade, to maintain his independence from the Ottomans. Nonetheless, this would prove disastrous, as Mehmed intercepted such talks and invaded the Beylik alongside his Grand Vizier. In a lightning campaign during the summer of 1468, Konya surrendered without a fight, while its bey escaped to the Akkuyunlu. To signify his total victory over a fellow Turkic power, the artisans of the Karamanid capital were rounded up and sent to Constantinople on the Sultan's orders. However, it was during this episode that Grand Vizier Mahmud Pasha was dismissed and exiled due to the political maneuvers of the second Vizier, Rum Mehmed Pasha, who took his rival's former office. Allegedly, the former Grand Vizier had accepted bribes from the city's elite artisans in
A strange Greek Vizier has appeared once more, known well that a thief has slipped into the faith.
exchange for the safety of their homes and wealth. Whether or not these allegations were factual, after annexing the entirety of the Karamanid Beylik once and for all, Mehmed concluded his campaign during the fall of 1468 and left for his capital. While the Sultan was away in Anatolia, Ottoman raiders from the newly conquered province of Bosnia launched a series of raids on Venetian and Austrian possessions in the Balkans. Under the command of Isa Bey, these incursions reached as far as Sadar and Šibenik in Dalmatia, as well as Metlika and Ljubljana in Carniola. Many market towns and their surrounding villages were torched, and the inhabitants were either massacred or taken as slaves. In retaliation for such devastating raids into Christendom, Venetian forces, led by the military governor of the island of Evia, Niccolo di Canale, struck the coastlines of Ottoman Macedonia and Thrace. These raids resulted in the sacking of Ainos and the killing and enslavement of its Greek population. While Mehmed II spent the winter of 1469 in Sofia due to a devastating plague outbreak in Constantinople, he ordered his fleet to gather in the safety of the Bosphorus. The Sultan planned to launch a surprise invasion of the Venetian island of Evia the following year, intending to deal a significant blow to the Doge's military capabilities in the local region. Deceiving the Venetians into believing his fleet was heading to Rhodes to confront the Knights Hospitaller, Mehmed landed his force of around 35,000 on...
Dang. Okay. So let's see. Took part in the campaign as captain of the sea after his dismissal. Oh, okay, he's still around. That's cool.
The island during the summer of 1470. After a month-long siege, the island's fortress capital of Negroponte fell to the Sultan's army, resulting in its sacking and the massacre of its Greek and Latin inhabitants. In the weeks following the fall of Negroponte, the remaining castles of Evia surrendered in fear, bringing the entire island under Ottoman control.
Wow.
However, while the Sultan was preoccupied with his war against Venice, his attention would once again shift to Anatolia, as a new eastern threat arose in the form of the Akkuyunlu under Uzun Hasan. The Akkuyunlu were one of several Turkoman tribal federations that emerged in the 14th century after the Mongol invasions and the decline of the Ilkhanate. Initially based in eastern Anatolia and parts of Armenia and northern Mesopotamia, the Akkuyunlu vied for dominance against their Turkic cousins and rivals, the Karakuyunlu. By the early 15th century, the state was relatively minor compared to the Karakuyunlu, who had established a powerful state centered in Tabriz under the rule of Kara Yusuf and his successors. However, the foundations for the Akkuyunlu resurgence were laid by Uzun Hasan's grandfather Osman Bey, who began consolidating his power in Diyarbakir with the support of the Timurids during the early 1400s. Uzun Hasan was born in 1423 and succeeded his brother Cihangir Bey as leader of the Ak Koyunlu in 1452. He quickly proved himself to be a shrewd military and political leader. His early reign was marked by campaigns aimed at strengthening internal control over the Confederation and subduing rival Turkoman tribes in eastern Anatolia. Yet, by the 1460s, the Bey was drawn into a war with the Karakoyunlu. The climax of Uzun Hasan's campaign came in 1467, when he decisively defeated and killed Jahan Shah at Chapakchur. This victory effectively ended the Karakoyunlu's dominance and allowed Uzun Hasan to seize their core territories, including the crucial city of Tabriz, which he made his capital. After this victory, Uzun Hasan inherited an expansive and diverse realm that included much of modern-day Iran, Azerbaijan, and Iraq. He began transforming the Ak Koyunlu tribal federation into a more centralized state and styled himself as Padishah-e Iran. In 1472, tensions in the recently conquered
it is a really impressive realm, I must say, like just by the sheer size of it. Yeah, they seem like they could be the new rivals to the growing Ottomans. This is very interesting because obviously there's hostilities with the Mamluks, so these two states, I'm wondering if the Mamluks are going to get involved since Kings and Generals keeps bringing them up. But it'll be interesting if it does end up coming down to that and how Mehmed will respond.
Ottoman province of Karaman erupted when Qasim Bey, the second eldest son of the late Ibrahim II, marched into the region with Mamluk military support. Although he was defeated and routed at the Battle of Mut near the Taurus Mountains, Qasim's sudden rebellion signaled to Mehmed that his eastern borders were under constant threat from the Mamluks and the Ak Koyunlu. He would be proven right. In a bold and strategic move, Uzun Hasan began forging alliances against the Ottomans, particularly with the Mamluks and, more notably, with Venice and the papacy, who viewed him as a valuable eastern ally against the growing threat of Mehmed's empire. The two sides attempted to unite their forces against Mehmed during the summer of 1472, when a Christian fleet composed of Venetian, papal...
Yeah, the amount of coalitions that have been formed against the Ottomans, and it's still so fascinating to know how young the Ottoman Empire is in the grand scheme of things, especially at this point. And, you know, it's still so young as an empire, and, you know, like, the fact that basically the entire world, both East and West, have like fought it and tried their hardest to get rid of it, it does speak volumes of just how impressive they are. And, you know, these various coalitions all... Again, I've always said, I've always liked this region because it's literally the center of, like, culturally the center of two big worlds. You have the East and everything that comes from the East, and then you have the West, always kind of diverge and like meet at the crossroads that is Anatolia and, you know, sort of the Balkans. Like before it was the Romans who constantly had to deal with both sides hitting them, and now it's the Ottomans. But that's why I've always been really fascinated by the geography of this place, because it really is the center of East and West, both these ideas, both these different worlds colliding here. And, you know, like, it feels like it would be so tricky to just defend, because, again, you have two sides, and jumping from the Balkans to Anatolia requires passage in itself. So, again, just the geography of this area is fascinating to me, and any empires that are situated here, you know?
Neapolitan and Knights Hospitaller forces launched a surprise assault on the Ottoman coastal towns of Antalya and Izmir, resulting in the burning of their outer suburbs. Meanwhile, Uzun Hasan officially declared war against the Sublime Porte and crossed into Ottoman eastern Anatolia at the head of a 60,000-strong host, besieging and sacking Tokat. The Ak Koyunlu Sultan viewed Mehmed as an obstacle to his expansion plans in the Middle East, as he sought to seize a Mediterranean port to commence trading with Europe himself. Therefore, he allied with Western powers in an attempt to secure Anatolia for himself, much like the once great Emir Timur had done 70 years earlier. In response,
But I have a feeling he's not gonna be as successful as Timur was. I just have a feeling he's not gonna be.
to the sudden eastern threat to his realm, Mehmed reinstated Mahmud Pasha as Grand Vizier and began.
Alright, so during these rivalries, let's see, the Turkomans mockingly dubbed the Ottoman Turks, meaning half-breed Turks softened by city life.
And mustering the largest Ottoman host seen since his great siege of Constantinople, consisting of 70 to 100,000 troops. By the fall of 1472, the army was ferried into Anatolia, where it wintered in Bursa. Meanwhile, the local forces of Mehmed's two eldest sons, Shahzada Bayezid, governor of Amasya, and Shahzada Mustafa, governor of Konya, joined near Isparta to fend off the sudden invasion, until reinforcements arrived from the capital. After decades of significant victories in Europe, everything depended on the campaigning season of 1473 for the Ottoman Sultan. Otherwise, it seemed his new empire would crumble with the loss of Anatolia. While Ottoman lands up to Ankara were being sacked, Piri Ahmed and Qasim Bey united their forces and seized Kayseri. The following year, they planned to invade their homeland of Karaman to restore their father's once proud beylik. However, the two brothers were defeated by Shahzada Mustafa at the Battle of Kareli, which forced them to flee to Akkyunlu territory. The decisive battle also resulted in the capture of three of Uzun Hasan's sons, Yusuf Mirza, Zainal Mirza, and Omer Mirza.
Dang.
The three brothers were later ransomed back to their father's realm by the end of the year. Additional good news arrived for the Sultan when a Venetian fleet north of Cyprus, carrying ample gunpowder weapons to the Akkyunlu, was ambushed and seized by Ottoman corsairs, a development that would be crucial to the outcome of Mehmed's military campaign to come. By spring 1473...
Yeah, not a good start for them. They instantly got defeated, and now Mehmed's personally gonna jump in, so... Yeah, the writing on the wall does not seem good for these guys, in my opinion.
Mehmed began marching east at the head of his immense host. Unlike in previous campaigns, where he kept his actual military dispositions and objectives secret from the world, the Sultan wrote public letters to the Akkyunlu ruler, demanding that their armies clash in eastern Anatolia. Accepting Mehmed's call, Uzun Hasan marched west once more in the summer, commanding a great Turkoman host. By August, the vanguards of the two armies met near Malatya, where the forces of Has Murad Pasha were routed back north to Erzincan. During the retreat north, the Ottoman Pasha, who was the illegitimate nephew of Constantine XI, drowned in the Euphrates River.
Oh, dang. Okay. I'll say, though, it's interesting that Mehmed's directly calling him out, like, let's just meet right here, let's fight. May the best group army win, I guess. Oh, dang. Messed up there.
Upon hearing of the death of one of his favorite statesmen, Mehmed nearly abandoned the campaign, but was persuaded to continue when envoys from Uzun Hasan arrived at his camp near the town of Turchan. The Akkyunlu Sultan had demanded the former territories of the Trebizond Empire, as well as the beyliks of the Karamanids, Eretnids, and Jandarids. To make it clear that he possessed the power to enforce his demands, the envoys presented the Sultan with a sack of millet, remarking that if he took arms against their master, his troops would need to be at least as numerous as the grains. The outraged Mehmed responded to this provocation by replying, "Tell your master that as quickly as these chickens have devoured the sack of millet, my janissaries will deal with his men, who may be skilled at herding goats, but not at fighting." The battle between the two Turkic sultans was just around the corner.
Dang. I love when these envoys show up and come with, like, dramatic gestures of, like, of war or peace like this, with the literally bringing a prop with them to make a point. I don't know, I always, when we come across events like these are hilarious to me, because it's like, they planned that, like, that was orchestrated, a little dramatic, but I don't know, I like that. And again, interesting that Mehmed wanted to throw in the towel already, like that, at least after hearing that. So interesting, but again, probably they overstepped their boundaries with this event and these high demands, because now Mehmed can't back down.
For now. On August 11th, both armies met near the heights of Otlukbeli. The Ottoman host numbered around 100,000 soldiers. Sultan Mehmed II and the Grand Vizier commanded the centre, alongside the Kapikuli Sipahi cavalry, the elite Janissary infantry, and artillery. To the left lay the provincial Anatolian army, led by Shahzada Mustafa and Anatolian Beylerbey David Pasha. To the right stood the Rumelian army, commanded by the Sultan's eldest son, Shahzada Bayezid. Both flanks comprised Tamalik cavalry, augmented by a vanguard of light Azab infantry, specialized Tefekçi gunners, and Akinci light horsemen on the far wings. The Akkyunlu host had a similar number of troops to the Ottomans, ranging from 70 to 100,000, and was a classical Turkoman army, comprised primarily of light cavalry and spearmen. Uzun Hasan and Piri Ahmed commanded the center, while the Sultan's sons, Zeynel Mirza and Oghulu Mehmed, respectively commanded the right.
Yeah, I have to say, in terms of army composition, the Ottomans definitely have, I think, the better composition and the more diverse one, between having artillery, heavy cavalry, light cavalry, elite infantry like the Janissaries. Like, again, it goes to show you, like, usually the classical Turkoman armies that we've witnessed all have light cavalry, and mainly comprised of a lot of light horsemen, not heavily armored, and they relied a lot on, like, the false retreat, and their infantry are lighter armed, just spearmen, and that kind of goes to show that that's how, like, early, and a lot of, even the early Ottomans were like that, and a lot of Turkic groups, but the Ottomans having to settle down and adapt to fighting both European forces and whatever came from the East, definitely evolved, because they have, again, heavy cavalry, elite infantry, and artillery, so they definitely adapted more. I feel like they got this in the bag, personally. I could be wrong, but I feel like the Ottomans have it in the bag, just by experience, how they've adapted beyond the original, usual Turkic groups' way of fighting, and yeah, just diversity in arms and weaponry. So yeah, I think the Ottomans got this in the bag, but again, I could be wrong. Well, I guess that's for me to find out now, eh?
And left flanks. The battle began with the Ottoman Anatolian army charging into Zeynel Mirza's ranks. The bloody engagement was one-sided, as the more modern, disciplined and firepower-heavy Ottoman troops overpowered the traditional, fast-moving tribal cavalry of the Akkyunlu. Amid the chaos of the battle and the confusion caused by the rising dust from the ground, Zeynel fell from his horse and was killed by an Azab named Mahmud Aga. With the prince's severed head sent back to Mehmed and without a leader, the Akkyunlu right flank began to rout off the battlefield in massive panic, resulting in many casualties. Meanwhile, on the other side of the battlefield, Bayezid's army of Rumelia had engaged with the forces of Oghulu Mehmed, and once again, the Ottomans outgunned their foes.
Again, you're seeing the perfect example of, of diversity and evolvement of equipment and, firepower, great infantry, light and heavy cavalry, just against just the usual lightly armed horsemen. They already won the left flank, the Ottomans, and they're priming to do the exact same with the right. So already the battle's pretty much lost. I see it. Yeah.
The battle was already lost. The Akkyunlu prince began to withdraw from the battlefield, but was captured by Akincis and taken back to Mehmed. Soon after, the Akkyunlu left flank also began routing en masse. According to classical chronicles, with Ottoman troops now pouring down both his flanks, an enraged Uzun Hasan shouted at Piri Ahmed, "May the Karamanid dynasty be ruined! What quarrels did I even have with the sons of Osman?" With artillery now bombarding his exposed ranks, the Sultan of Akkyunlu and the Karamanid Bey fled the scene of their great defeat. The one-sided Battle of Otlukbeli was over, leaving over 30,000 dead, wounded and captured Turkomans.
Holy crap. Yeah, talk about one-sided. That wasn't a battle, that was a slaughter, dude. Holy crap.
compared to only 1,000 Ottoman casualties. As the dust settled over the plains of Otlukbeli, the fate of eastern Anatolia had been decided. Uzun Hasan's dreams of halting Ottoman expansion were shattered. With them, the rising star of the Akkyunlu
Dad struck Hassan a blow to the head. Had he survived, he'd have come to his senses.
began to fade, leading to the gradual decline of the vast empire throughout the remainder of the 15th century. The battle also demonstrated that the highly disciplined gunpowder units of the Sublime Porte massively outperformed the disorganized Turkoman tactics of Asia. For Sultan Mehmed II, Otlukbeli was more than just a military victory. It was a declaration to all rivals in the West and East that his empire was not just here to stay, it was here to dominate. With the
Dang, dude. That's amazing.
Sultan securing his eastern borders, he would now direct his full attention to the European theatre of his empire, where he remained for the rest of his reign.
Yeah, settled things in the east decisively. Good on him, bro. That was amazing. And yeah, I'm gonna end the video right here, guys, and tomorrow we're gonna continue to see what more Mehmed does in Europe. So until then, bye everyone.